If you want to build a live stock price tracker application, then you're in the right place, because today we're going to build one and you're going to stay ahead of the market using a live React Vite application styled with Tailwind CSS, and of course fetch live data with the Alpha Vantage API with a beautiful but also interactive. Of course, you can add your favorite ticker symbols. For example, if you want to add here Apple, AAPL will be the ticker, so just hit enter right here and you're going to have another stock added to your portfolio. Now these are tracked live, so if this would change, either I believe there's only 20 minutes or something delay. If you're, for example, a auto fan like me, let's just hit race and this would be the ticker symbol for Ferrari, and there we go. We also have the price for it right now. So exciting application. So here what you're going to learn in this application, because this application is going to fetch live stock prices from an API using React hooks. We're also going to manage dynamic lists and user inputs. We're going to display loading state, and error handling, as you can see here, is happening seamlessly and behind the scenes actually. And we're going to also style the application using modern Tailwind CSS for a professional look. Now a couple of organizational steps here. So we're going to set up the project. We're going to use with Tailwind CSS setup to set up everything in React. We're also just going to use vanilla JavaScript, no TypeScript. The project isn't that complicated for us to use TypeScript. We're also going to create a stock price component, but we are going to create everything in one single file. So if you want to split it up later on, we are going to do that. Now also we're going to use the fetch data API for fetching the data for Alpha Vantage API. We're going to get their key. Each of you is going to have your own separate keys. We're going to have the loading and error state, as I already said, and we're going to add new dynamic ticker symbols, just demonstrated here, some final styles, and then we are good to go. So don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel to get the latest and greatest projects with me. I'm Norbert and I teach web development. By the way, I have a big surprise for you. I have a weekend sale, so you're going to have 3 or 4 days left after this video launches. This video is going to launch today on Friday, and all of my courses are for sale with lower price possible, which they are now on Udemy for some time left in this year. So each of you, depending on the country you're in, is going to get a different price. I cannot influence that, but you're going to get the lowest price possible. So much as for, there you go. You can thank me later. Also, for those of you who are channel members, all the courses are free, of course. So join the channel if you want to have access to free courses, get early access to projects, early access to courses, coupon codes for early releases. And you know what? Let's just jump into the project. Now, I just have a folder called code. This is where the new folder I'm saving here, just a couple of projects. So you can just create another folder, drag and drop it in here. Just have an empty folder. So what we are going to do, we're going to first of all go to Vite, and actually we're going to go to tailwindcss.com and click here on get started. And from here we're going to use the zoom in here a bit, using Vite to set up our project. So we're going to create a project using Vite at latest. Just going to drag this to the side, come here into my project, open up the terminal, control tilde, and I'm going to cd out of here. This was the crash course, a previous project. Check it out. It's on the channel. Okay, so let's set up the project using npm create Vite at latest. I'm going to name this stock-price-tracker. Okay, let's hit enter. It's going to install the project. It's going to ask us what. Let me just drag this up. What do we want to use? We want to use not vanilla JavaScript. We want to use React. And from here, we're going to use vanilla JavaScript. Okay, so just prepare the folder. It'll be right here. Now let's cd into the folder. Just hit tab and you should see that the stock price tracker is there. Hit enter. Now from here we're going to npm I tailwind css at tailwind css /nv. Okay, and this should set up our tailwind css right here. This should also just take a couple of seconds. Okay, now you should see here a vite.config file. Go to that file and just copy in everything to see here. Actually, just copy in import tailwind CSS and also copy in this tailwind CSS right here after React, just hit a comma and hit save. Okay, we can close this up. So import Tailwind CSS, and here plugins Tailwind CSS. Okay, close this up. Now we're going to go to into our source file, app.css, and I'm going to delete this. I'm going to app.jsx, remove the import from here, remove the Vite logo, remove everything that we don't need here. Then go to index.css, and here I'm going to copy in this import, copy and replace everything that is in here. Control A, and replace it, hit save, also hit save here. And that's basically it. Now we can run our Tailwind CSS. Just one more thing, we need to go into our HTML file right here and copy in this little file, because this is going to look for the file from where it's coming. In our case, this is going to be index CSS. Okay, so index CSS, this is where the entire code will come from. Now we can just npm run dev, and I'm just going to copy this h1, replace it here with the entire code. So this div, I'm going to make it smaller, so this one, and replace here everything with this little fellow. And I can just open this up, control click on localhost, and there we go, we should see this. So also if I'm going to text red and 500, you should see a red text. Okay, so everything is working perfectly. So I'm going to close up this tab, and we're going to go to the API later on. So we have a project up and running. I'm also going to remain in this little side window, and we're basically done with the setup. So this was the setup part. Next up will be to create a stock price component. So basically I'm just going to come here and create here a function. I'm going to call it stock price, and it's going to take in as a prop a ticker, and we're just going to assign it to absolutely nothing. Okay, now open and close curly brackets, and this should not be in the parentheses, these should be curly brackets. Let's just replace them. Now this will return. I'm going to close up the left side, we don't need the navigation app anymore. Okay, open and close parentheses, and just going to return here div, class of bg div, and class name bg gradient, sorry about that, frog in my throat, and to br from white via gray dash 50 to gray and 200. Okay, I'll just type in here for now the stock price. That's it. Now let's import this. I'm going to go down here, drop this title. We're going to have the stock price imported. Oops, 2 times what I wanted. Okay, so there's our stock price as a component brought into the main application. I'm going to remove this count, we don't need this, and import up here everything that we need. So use state, we're going to need you, and also use effect. So these are the 2 hooks that we are going to use effect. So now I'm going to create here a couple of states for the stock price. So let's start off with a const, and let's first assign the price, because we need the price, and we also need to set the price somehow. We're going to assign this to use state, and for now the state will just be null. We will also need to simulate here loading, so we're going to create a state for that. So const loading and set loading, assign to the state again, use state, and this will be set as true. And then we'll have an error boundary, so we're going to have here an error state and set error. Okay, and this is also going to be assigned to use state, and initially this is also going to be null. So we got our states set up here. Now when we're fetching data, we're going to use a use effect here to have our responses, to have our error boundary, catch the error. But first things first, let's see where can we display it. So right here in our component, I'm going to first of all replace this with an h3, and this just basically for now is going to have the ticker, and this is whichever ticker will be passed in here, ticker. And if ticker does not exist, then let's display here empty, or there's a text of ticker. So if there is no ticker, then display me the text of ticker, but if there is, then display the ticker. Okay, so we got here ticker or add ticker. Let's see, add ticker for now. Now right after this, we're going to add some loading. So we're just going to type in use the state of loading here, and if this is true, then we're going to display here a div with a class of flex, then items. You know what, I'm just going to add the div First things first, so div, class name, and we're going to have here everything displayed as flex. And before I do this, because I hate styling something when I'm not seeing it, so I'm going to have here a paragraph tag with just price and dot dot dot. Okay, so there's a price. So if this is loading, then say price is, or loading price. That's okay. Let's also style this a bit. Our loading price will have a text, class name of text blue, go with the blue of 500, and font medium. There we go. Okay, now let's style this. So flex, we're going to have the items to the center. We're going to add here gap of 2. And before the paragraph tag, we're going to have a span tag. And this will be basically this little file right here. So what I'm going to do here is just copy the style in here and explain it very quickly. So you can see this loading spinning thingy. Now this comes from inline block. We're going to add a height and a width for it. In the newest version of Tailwind CSS, you can just add here size. Basically the same thing as you can see. If I change this to 8, woo, large. So we're going to leave it at 4. Now border is the thickness of this border. That's why we can see it. The color of the border will be blue. It's going to be transparent, rounded, and animation spin. This is why it's spinning. Okay, so simple as that. This is how we create a loading component. Now within done with this, right after here we're also going to have our error boundaries. So let's just type here comment error loading. You're going to have the entire code for the members loading with much better comments in there. So now here we're going to display our error, and if an error exists, then we're going to create a paragraph tag. Come on, baby, paragraph tag. Why paragraph tag? Oh, not collaborating today. No worries, we're going to do it the old school way. So paragraph tag with some class names of text red, because why not, 500, and font semi-bold. And within here, we're just going to display our error. Okay. So if there is an error, then display it right here. Next, we're going to go down here and say that right after our error, we're going to type in a comment, show price if stuck loading. So right here, we're going to ask the question, if loading is not successful, then show me a error, but also check if the error does not exist, then show me the price. Now, if this is null, then I'm going to create here a little paragraph tag, open and close paragraph tag, and give me here the price. Simple as that. Okay, and let's also style this just a change. So class name, a text of 3XL, a font extra bold, and text green 600. Okay, let's also add a margin to the top of 2. Now the last step, I'm going to copy this, paste it in here, and show message if no data was successfully loaded. So we're going to remain here with if not loading and no error and price is null. Okay, then display me a different message. This time we're just going to go with the text of this create text of 500, also no margin from the top, and instead of the price, we're going to have here a text of no data available. Dot. Okay, so let's try this out. We're going to go up here above our return, and we're going to create here use effect hook, or use our use effect hook, because we already have it created. So let's get started here with fetching the data first of all. So we're going to create here const, call it fetch data, actually fetch stock price, stock and price. And we're going to use here a asynchronous functions. So assign it to async arrow function. And first of all, we're going to try, open those curly brackets, set loading, first of all to true. There we go. When I close up here, yeah, because we still have a lot of stuff to do here. Now we're going to do here const for the API key, const API key, and I'm going to leave this empty for now. I'm just going to type in here catch, so it stops yelling at me. And then here an error, return error, set error, and we're going to set it to the text, open and close backticks, error, fetching data. I'm going to pass in here the message. So ampersand, $, and e.message. And we're going to take care of the messages. That's in a couple of seconds. Message, okay. Also, we're going to have here finally, we're going to just set loading to false. Okay. Now I'm not quite done with here with the error, because right after this, we also need to set the price to null. Okay, so keep remembering this, that when you're playing with state, always keep manipulating the state in the right way. Okay, we're not done here. So we set loading to true. We set our API key to nothing. This is just for now. And why I'm doing this, because the Alpha Vantage API lets you only do like 10 requests or something like that, and then it's going to stop working. You have to pay for that API. But this is just for showing purposes only. You can get different APIs or free APIs out there. So use the one you wish. I'm just showing you, it doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter. It's just going to be an API key. The method is always the same. Okay, now let's grab a head, and we need the response. So const response. And for the response, we're going to await for it. Await. And we're going to fetch here the data. Okay, so the data is going to look as following. You need to pass in here the entire API and use the ticker. So the ticker is this, is going to be passed in here, and your key. You always need your key. So it's going to look something as following: the HTTPS column / the website that you're using, and then each and every website is a bit different, but this is going to do a global quote, and then look for the symbol, and the symbol is the ticker symbol that we're passing into this component. Passing it down here and check your API key, which is going to be defined here. I'm going to show you this just in a couple of seconds, how this works. But first, let's finish the code. So from here, if we don't have a response, so it's response.ok, not okay, that's why we have a negation here, then going to throw error, a new error message, error object, and we're going to have here a HTTP, what am I doing here? HTTP error and status. I'm going to pass in here the status now. Const.status. Okay. Now for the data. I'm going to go down here. Const, right after our if statement. Const, the data is equal to await response. And because we're going to get this in a JSON file, dot, oops, what am I doing here? Dot JSON. Okay. Now, what are we going to do with this data? So if data, the data exists, parentheses, open and close, double quotation marks, global, global quote, and data, open and close square brackets again, the global quote, and once again, open and close square brackets, open and close double quotation marks, 05.price, and I'm going to show you this just in a couple of minutes. The best way would be to just go to Alpha Vantage stock market APIs. Let's open this one up. Intraday. Let me just grab an API. Yes, this right here. I'm going to grab it. Oh, now I need a stock. Intraday. Give me some kind of stock. Price symbol. Okay, let's go with this one. So just open up a website. I'm going to paste this in here. Hit enter, and this is going to what you're going to get back. Okay, so what it means with this little fellow right here is that number 5 here is, for example, time zone, but so let's see, global code, ticker, and global quote. Don't have here the global code because it's a different API. But once again, you can see here it's going down this path, and in our case, number 5 will be the price. Okay. Get a different example here. Output. We have a daily price today. But nevertheless, I'm going to show you on our API. Okay, and so this is what we're looking for it to return the price, because you can return the closing price, the opening price, a maximum high, maximum 20 days, 50 days, 100 days, 200 days high, and so on and so on. But let's open and close curly brackets after this if statement. So if this is correct, then we're going to set. This is where we're going to grab onto the price. So set price to the, and now we're going to parse the data. So parse float and pass in here the data. And once again, just going to repeat this little fellow, global quote. And right after this parenthesis, we need it in 2 decimals. So 2 fixed and only 2 decimals. And then we're going to set error to null because everything is okay. So we don't want to have an error. Okay, now is this if statement. Now if this does not work, then else we're going to throw an error here. So set error, and we're going to just say could not receive or retrieve price for this ticker. And we're going to set the price to null again. Remember, always reset the values from your states. Now this should come into action. Let's first of all initiate it down here. We are still in our use effect, okay? Let me close this up so you can see it better. So use effect, and this ends down here. We're going to go into our use effect, so remain within your use effect and set or fetch, not set. Use the function that we created, fetch price and initiate it. Okay, could not receive price for the ticker. And now this should be triggered each time the ticker changes. Okay, so we need here a comma. Okay, so we don't have any loading anymore, as you can see. We just have the error message could not retrieve price for the ticker. So what we are going to do now is go to Alpha Vantage, get API key, and from here you just need to enter some kind of organization and an email address. So let's just say test@gmail.com, get free API key, and there we go. Now there is flex. There's your API key. Each one of you is going to get a different API key. Do not use my API key because this is not going to work anymore when this video is going to release. So let's try pasting the API key in here. Don't hit save. Type in here AAPL for the ticker. Hit save, and you should already see here a price appearing for Apple, because AAPL is a ticker symbol for Apple, just as you see it right here. Okay, we have Apple down here. Also, we have Microsoft, Google, Nvidia, and so on and so on. If you want to have Tesla, then feel free to do so. Now, let's continue on with our project because you're not done yet. So we are finished with the stock price. Now, let's go down to the parent application itself, down here. And next, we need multiple ticker symbols and also multiple displays of these ticker symbols. So what I'm going to do here is create a const. We're going to call this tickers, multiple tickers, and set tickers. Now, what I would suggest to do is for now just comment out your API code, because each time you're going to use this code, let's just recreate it here, API code, delete this and comment it out. Just leave it empty and go down here and assign this to use state. Don't have any errors anymore. Tickers. Okay, now I'm going to add here a couple of tickers. So leave that commented out because each time you're calling that API, you're consuming up your requests. Now in our state, we're going to add a couple of mock ticker symbols. So NVDA in a string is for NVIDIA. Let's add Microsoft, MSFT, Microsoft, and let's also add Google. And this is for the A shares, so GOOGL, because there are 2 ticker symbols for Google. Okay, now we also want to be able to input data here. So we're going to do a const and call this input and set input, and we're also going to assign this to use state and just open and close, leave the state empty for now. So what we are trying to do here is add a possibility for the user to add here ticker symbol and add it then down here. So we need a function for that, and that function will be to create a const. I'm going to call this add ticker. We're going to assign this to an error function, and we're just going to say that we're going to return here a variable const. We're going to call it value, and we're going to assign the value to whatever the input dot trim, and exactly as it says here, this is extremely important. This is, how should I say, pro tip advice, but also this is like working with clean code. Removes leading and trailing white spaces, because if the user enters a space somewhere, then it's going to look for example, AAPL space, and that ticker symbol does not exist. Always use this trim property and dot to uppercase, okay, because the ticker symbols are always uppercase. So this is the value that we're looking for. Now if the value does exist and there is no tickers dot includes, so it's not already in there, the value, name this value, so let's leave it as value, those are the parentheses. Then we're going to set the ticker, or set the tickers, and we're going to use here the spread operator, And we're going to update the tickers with the new value that was added to those tickers. And of course, we're going to reset the input to an empty string. Okay, simple as that. Now we're going to work down here on our tickers. But first things first, let's display the already existing tickers in NVIDIA, Microsoft, and Google by using this one little component and dropping it into a div. Move it up here. Oops, stop. I jumped up to the very beginning of the code. So move it. What am I doing? Sorry, I just switched from my PC to my Mac when I'm recording. Constantly messing up the keys. Okay, so we want to return here from the tickers. So we're going to use here a map, and we're going to return here a ticker, or forgetting that C. And this ticker will be then, and this is where the ticker is going to come into play. And again, I messed up. So move it up here. And that ticker will be passed in here. We're going to use as a key the ticker symbol. And then remember that we have for the stock price a ticker as a prop. And we're going to pass in here that specific ticker from each and every element of the array. Okay, so we have NVIDIA, Microsoft, and Google. And of course with our errors, because I said let this open until you're done. Let this commented out until you're done. There you have it, our key. So it won't throw an error, and also you won't use up your API keys, your requests. Now let's style this a bit. The class name and flex wrap. Then we're going to justify to the center. Let's add a gap of 6 and a width full. And now let's just add a max width of 4XL. Now we're not done. We still need our input. So let's go here. Let's change this into a div with the class name of, and we're just going to do styling from now on. Min age of screen and BG gradient. I'm going to copy this in. This is so annoying, creating BG gradients. There we go. So there are our ticker symbols. Now let's also add up here this div. I'm going to add an H1 with my stock tracker price, my stock price. We're tracking the price, not the stock itself. Okay, let's style this a bit. We're going to increase the font as a margin to the bottom of it. This should everything be text center. Don't worry, we're going to take care of this. Now for input. And this is where it's going to get interesting. So we're going to have here a flex and a margin bottom of 8. And then we're going to width full and a max width of MD. Okay. Within here, we're going to have an input. So we're going to work now on this little fella. Input and this add button. So input tag, we're going to leave it as text. For the value, we're going to add the input. And now we're adding the state. Okay. So this state right here. Now, when we're going to change something in this input, so on change, we're going to trigger here the function of set input. So the event that is going to be passed in here will then be used to set the state of set input to the input.target value, so the event.target.value. And we're just going to add here a placeholder for add ticker, and for example, e.g. AAPL Apple. Okay, so there's the input. Now we still need to style this. I'm just going to copy in a little bit of styling here, and boom, there we go. If I focus on it, then it's going to be blue. And now for our confirmation, which is going to be a button, we just add. And what is important is that this button on click will then trigger the add ticker. Okay, there's a button, and here's the style for it. So background blue, text white, padding on x-axis is 6, padding on y-axis 3, rounded, semi-bold font, and a little bit of hover effect to a background. Also, what I love to do is cursor pointer. There we go. Okay, so if I want to add another ticker, for example, AAPL, click on it, and there we go. We have another. We also saw that little loading. Now let's comment this back in, and you should now see your prices added right here, just as we see it here. Okay, So what do you think of the project? Did you enjoy it? Let me hear from you in the comment section below. If you have any kind of suggestions for future projects, leave them down there. How's your coding going along? What do you think is the future of React? Let me hear it in the comment section below. I'm Norbert BM. I teach web development. Like and subscribe. Become a member to the channel. Catch you next time. Stay safe out there. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.